What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 2021 NHL entry draft by the Edmonton Oilers. That's right, the Edmonton Oilers in the draft, which just finished up about 2 hours ago, made 6 picks, and we're going to talk about all 6 picks. I'm going to talk about the draft in general, and I'm also going to talk about the one deal that was made by the Oilers when it comes to draft pick swapping, because it's highly talked about, so I kind of have to talk about it. Side note, before we get started here, because we're really just going to hop into things and just go very fast from there, nothing I'm about to say here is a guarantee in any way. We should all know how the draft works, but for those who don't fully understand this, draft picks are like magic beans. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. Yes, you can pick the promising name, but you don't really know what you have until you end up seeing what they become. So today, you're going to hear me say the word projected a lot. This player is projected to be a top 6 forward in the future. This player is projected to be comparable to this player at this. All of this is projection, all of this is circumstance, and we really just have to see how it all works out as time goes on, okay? And keep that in mind when we talk about this trade. So, after an incredibly long first round, which lasted 3.5 hours, by the way, if you want to see my reaction to it, go check out the live stream I did for it. And after an incredibly long day 2, which lasted about 7 hours, but somehow wasn't actually longer than last year, NHL, try to fix this, please. Let's get into these draft picks. Starting off with the 22nd overall pick. 22nd, you may ask? I thought we had the 20th pick going into the draft. You're right, we did, but when the 20th pick came up, the Edmonton Oilers made a trade. They sent pick 20 to the Minnesota Wild, and in exchange, got back pick 22 and pick 90. This is the one trade I was talking about. Like I said, we'll talk about it at the end here. They trade away the pick that became goaltender Jesper Wallstedt, and with the 22nd overall pick, the Edmonton Oilers drafted forward Xavier Bourgault from the QMJHL's Shawinigan Cataractus. That's I know I'm butchering that. Someone please correct me on pronunciation down below. But Xavier Bourgault is an Edmonton Oiler. You saw my live reaction last night. It was really not that special because I didn't really know what to say. But now I've taken some time. I've looked into this guy, and you know what? I'm pretty happy with this pick. Xavier Bourgault is a center, but also has the right wing flexibility. He's played on the right wing for the most of his QMJHL career, alongside a former first-round pick from last year of the Dallas Stars, Matvei Petrov, out in Shawinigan. He's a 6-foot-tall player, weighing in at about 162 pounds, and this season with Shawinigan, he had 29 games played, scored 20 goals, had 20 assists as well, for 40 points in general. Now, again, I'm just going to throw this in as advisory as well. When you look down the description, you're going to see a lot of different links. Those are all my sources. I went and did my research around to see if I could find the best information, and all the sources down below are what I used to pretty much talk about every single one of these prospects. A couple of them are actual scouting websites. A couple of them are just Twitter threads because there wasn't known a lot about the prospect. So, down below are my sources for where I got this information. He was ranked on all major boards going into this draft. So we see with some players, like mainly the later down picks, some scouting agencies will not have these guys rated. All of the major draft boards listed on Elite Prospects had Xavier Bourgault rated anywhere to go as high as 15 and as low as 37. So, depending on which boards you look at here, Xavier Bourgault is a bit of a value pick, even though people will not think of it that way. Last year, in the 1920 season, he played 63 games for Shawinigan, had 33 goals, 38 assists for 71 points, and he led all 2021 draft-eligible players, I think in the CHL, in points in the 2019-20 season. So we have somebody here that has a pretty good offensive repertoire. But when you look at him as a player, what are his perks? What are his cons? Like, what are his pros and cons? All of this information is coming from Smart Hockey, and I'm not saying that wrong. Smart Hockey, the scouting agency. Here's what I have, or at least what I took out of what was written on Xavier Bourgault. He is a sniper and he has a knack for scoring goals, but even though he is predominantly known for his shooting, he also has a very good set of playmaking. He has pretty good straight line speed, but he can work a little bit on his skating. The mechanics of his skating can be a little bit off. He has a very good and dynamic shot, and I feel like that's what Oilers fans need to take out of this pick the most. I'm going to talk about a lot more things, obviously, but his shot is very good. And one thing I did hear very swiftly on the broadcast for night one of the draft was that he had a bit of a thing for a long time in Shawinigan where he was always going and passing it off to Maverick Bourque, and he was not shooting, and then when he started, and his percentage was always really high, and then he just started shooting more, and then the results started paying off for him. So, Xavier Bourgault, he's got a very, very good shot, and you're going to hear this a lot with a lot of the draft picks made tonight by the Oilers. Xavier Bourgault, very good shot on him. One thing I saw about him as well is that his reach is a bit of an issue, so sometimes the puck will get a little bit too far away from him when he's going into the zone. He'll also have some trouble with poke checks defensively. He does need to improve a little bit on his puck handling skills to keep possession of the puck. He's a good in transition player, though, which I think is really important for the Oilers. Somebody who can get the puck from zone defense to zone offense. Tons of different plays. A dump and chase type guy, uses the boards. He can also deke around you if need be. He has a very high IQ from what I've read on him. Somebody who's really good at reading the plays of the opposition. He figures out what to do, how to draw attention to open up a space on the ice for not only himself but his teammates. And the other thing I heard about him is that he could be a bit more aggressive on the defensive end of things. At his peak, Xavier Bourgault, at least from Smart Hockey's perspective, gave him a Brendan Gallagher / Cam Atkinson comparison. I like this pick by the Edmonton Oilers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be mad because the obvious. Xavier Bourgault, do not let the trade just diminish the value of Xavier Bourgault. This man looks like a very good prospect who, with time in the QMJHL and then maybe some time in an AHL system like the Oilers, which, mind you, has done a very good job at elevating prospects and having these prospects produce more, as we saw with guys like Tyler Benson and Cooper Merity over this past year. Raphael Lavoie is another example. These guys, now we have an AHL team that can actually help develop guys. In the future, Xavier Bourgault does look like a guy that you can bring through the system and hopefully, and the goal would be this, have him be a top 6 forward for the Edmonton Oilers. Good pick by Edmonton. I really like Xavier Bourgault. I think that it's a good selection. We'll have to see where it goes, though. Really, we don't have a guarantee that this guy's going to be good. We're just kind of crossing our fingers right now and hoping, which is really the theme of a lot of teams' drafts this year. It's not just ours. Pretty much every draft pick is a bit of a, let's hope this works. Then we get to pick 90, so we didn't have a second-round pick due to the Andreas Athanasiou trade. That worked out well. But we do have the third-round pick that we acquired in the Minnesota trade, and with that pick, we select Luca Munzenberger. Yeah, now I'll be honest, I had no idea who this guy was when he was selected, and honestly, with guys like Dylan Duke still on the board, I was a little bit upset that this man did end up as an Edmonton Oiler player. However, then I looked into him, and a lot of people are giving this pick like a failing grade, and I understand why. I think that this player could be something the Oilers could mold, and if they do mold him correctly, I think he could be a very solid hockey player one day. He is a defenseman. He is left-handed. He is 6'2", so another big boy. By the way, nobody in this draft is under 6 foot. 194 pounds out of the German league. I do not remember which league it is. It was not the DEL, I know that. And he played for the Kölner Junghae under 20 squad this past season, where he had in 6 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, and 3 points altogether. Another thing to point out about this is that he was actually captain of this U20 team. He was captain of the team he was on. Here's the one thing that might concern you at first when you see it glare off the paper. Only one major mock draft had him taken off the board, and if I'm not mistaken, it was McKean's Hockey, who had him picked at 214. Nobody else had them in their actual mock draft. So, this is obviously a bit of a reach, and you can be concerned about that. That being said, let's look a little bit deeper into the details here. Why is Luca Munzenberger a high-up draft pick like this for the Oilers? What made the Oilers like him? The World Junior Championships is the answer. He played for Team Germany at the World Junior Championships and was one of their more minute-playing defensemen. He was one of the better defensemen that they had on that roster, especially on the left-hand side. And he put up a lot of he played a lot of minutes. He played special teams, both power play and penalty kill. He didn't score any points, but his physical play and good shutdown ability, especially on a team like Germany, who obviously are not a powerhouse in the world of junior hockey, he played well enough to turn a lot of scouts' eyes towards him. So, what type of abilities does he have? Well, he's a physical defenseman that can play both the power play and the penalty kill. He has very good first pass ability. So when it comes to him having the puck in his zone, he can get it up to that guy that can carry it through the neutral zone. He has very good mobility for the size he is at the age he is. He's a fairly fast skater. In the highlights I watched of him, I think from the game against Russia, I watched some of his first period highlights. I didn't really watch a ton of them. He seemed like he was doing a pretty good job, being able to get in there, strip the puck away at some points, keep people from moving the puck, neutralize play a good amount. He did some really nice things on the ice that you look for in these prospects. And another thing that's notable that I did not know until I did a little bit of further looking is that this man also has a very powerful shot. He can just hammer the thing, and it actually has decent accuracy considering the player type we're dealing with here. He is committed to Vermont. I don't know. I think that's the University of Vermont. For the next once he jumps over is college eligible. But all in all, Luca Munzenberger looks like a very, very good prospect. Obviously he's a reach. I am fully aware that he's a reach. That being said, I think that there are worse players they could have taken here. I think that there are some perks with this player, and I think that if you are confident enough in developing a guy like this, why not go ahead and give it a shot? Do I think that Luca Munzenberger would have been available, maybe even as far as pick 116? Yeah, probably. I think you probably could have gotten him there. 180, 186, maybe, but I would say that there were going to be teams that would take him. I feel like there was going to be a team to take him. Just by looking at what's going on, I feel like somebody would have taken a bet on him if it wasn't for Edmonton. So we'll see if this pays off for the Oilers. We'll see what Luca Munzenberger can become for them. Moving on to their next pick, at pick 116 in the draft, so in the 4th round, they selected forward Jake Chaisson. Yep, we have a Chaisson, everyone. So if Alex Chaisson walks, we're going to have our organizational quota of at least one Chaisson in the system. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine. In all honesty, Jake Chaisson is a very intriguing prospect. He is a right winger with a right-handed shot. He stands at 6 feet 1 inches, weighs about 165 pounds, and obviously in the WHL with the Brandon Wheat Kings, in 23 games, he had 9 goals, 11 assists, 20 points. Last season, in 60 games, remember, as a 1 year before being drafted player, 60 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. Nothing that comes off the board, nothing crazy, but not that bad at all. 4 major draft boards had him ranked, and this is something interesting to note. One board had him at 61st overall, one board had him at 96th, one board had him at 150, and the other one had him at 186. So 2 were very high on this prospect, 2 boards were not that high on this prospect. So even in rankings here, you can tell it's a bit of either he's going to be good or he's not going to be so good. So it's definitely a bit of a risk again, but I do like this pick. From what I read about him from the Hockey Writers, if I'm not mistaken, was the website I took it. Again, just look for his name, and then beside his name is the link of the resource I used. He has a hard shot. He's a decent passer and good offensive awareness. He looks like, all in all, he needs to improve the consistency in his game, and he also needs to be a little bit more patient when on the ice. But what he projects to be is a good bottom 6 forward who can do a bit on both ends of the ice. I've seen more about his offense than his defense. And it's a guy that might be able to get onto the second power play unit in the future. Which, yes, if you were thinking about it, I'm thinking about it too. In a way, Jake Chaisson is exactly what Alex Chaisson is right now. A good bottom six forward who brings offensive ability and can also play defense, but really he's not that much of a big guy. That being said, the thing I am really interested about with Jake Chaisson that I read was his offensive flexibility, because while he is not the best in the world in anything offensively, he's not the greatest in one specific area. The thing that intrigues me about Jake is the fact that he seems to be able to do a little bit of everything in the offensive zone. He can enter him, he can shoot, he can pass, he can play net front, he can do a ton of different things. He's a bit of a utility option, and I think, for the Oilers, having one of these guys on the roster that's a younger player isn't a bad idea at all. I could see this guy doing something good in the future. Obviously, he's a 4th round pick, so you can't have that high of expectations. But you can sit here and hope, and I think that there is a chance that this guy does become decent. So I'm going to sit here and hope on him, honestly. Hope's what the Oilers need right now. But yeah, all in all, not a bad 4th round selection at all. I'll give grades on everything afterwards. Then we skip past the 5th round. We don't have a 5th round pick this year. And we get to pick 180. And in my opinion, this is the pick of the draft for the Edmonton Oilers. This is a steal of a deal. And honestly, it's a bit of a shock that they did go this route. They selected from the MHL Matvei Petrov. Now, I did not know about Matvei Petrov going into this draft. And I'm very happy I now know about Matvei Petrov, and I'm really excited that this prospect is in the Oilers system. He is a left winger with a left-handed shot. He's 6'2", so another guy over that 6-foot mark already. 181 pounds, so he's already got a bit of muscle on him. He played for the MHK Kirilla Svetov Moskva in the NHL. And in 58 games with that team, he scored 22 goals, had 20 assists, and had 42 points altogether. Matvei Petrov was not supposed to be available where he was selected. He was ranked in the 2nd to 3rd round on all major draft boards other than McKeen's Hockey, who had him at 153. So, even if you pay attention to McKeen's, mostly, this is still a steal by about a round. He was supposed to go 5th in their projection. We got him in the 6th round. And again, I really like the theme of this draft up to this point. Offense. This guy is great. His shot is dynamite. His one-timer is wicked. His shot was so good. The site I was looking at when reading into him, or at least one of the sites, I only listed one site for him, but I did take a peek at another. One of them compared his shot to Patrik Laine's. Now, obviously, we cannot say for sure whether he is going to be Patrik Laine or not. I think that that's a far stretch to say. However, the fact that his shot is getting that comparison, that's pretty good. Like I said, he's got great shot, he's got good vision, and he's also a decent playmaker to boot. Obviously not as good of a playmaker than a shooter, but he still has that. He also has a lot of confidence in him. That was one thing that was described about him, is that he's a very confident player. He is willing to try new things. He tried a lacrosse shot this year as well, so he is a little bit outgoing on the ice, and he has confidence in his skill. And he is also not afraid to throw some body checks. At the World Junior Championship for Russia, he was throwing some hits to players that would come into the zone. He was throwing a good amount of checks, and he was out there putting in that effort. And that's what makes me so interested in Matvei Petrov, because honestly, alright, think about Patrik Laine, right? Think about what his main criticisms have been. Okay, so we've heard the rumors that Columbus are trying to turn him into a power forward, right? If Matvei Petrov is, and obviously he's a 6th round pick, I know, but if we're comparing him to Patrik Laine here, he's already got a big aspect of the game people want out of Patrik Laine down in body checking. Now, do I think we just drafted Patrik Laine? Hell no. He might be good, but he's a 6th round pick for a reason. I'll explain this in a minute when we talk about the trade. When a player that is supposed to go earlier in the draft falls, there's a reason. And for me, there's something fishy about Matvei Petrov, because it's not like height is his problem. He's 6'2". There's something about Matvei Petrov that's turning a lot of teams off. But offensively, this guy's good. But the main thing that you're getting in Matvei Petrov is a wicked goal scorer. He is a guy that can put goals in the back of the net. Things that it would be nice for him to improve. Now, this is a pretty lengthy list, but honestly, it's not that hard. I've seen that his skating is okay, but it could be improved. He could work a little bit more on just working at the fine-tunings in his skating, trying to add a little bit more speed. He needs to improve his strength a little bit, get a little bit stronger up top, and along with that, working on board battles. They want to see him getting in there and going a little bit more up at the boards, trying to get the puck away. But the big thing to note with Matvei Petrov is that he is a projected top 6 forward. This is a guy who might be able to be a top 6 forward one day. And personally, I think that this is a guy who would work very well alongside of, like, maybe a Leon Draisaitl type, but I'm thinking more, even though he's not as fast. That's the one thing about Petrov, right? He doesn't seem like he's got the skating like a McDavid or even a Puljujärvi, so I don't know how he fits on that line in the future. But it does look like Matvei Petrov is the type of guy who, if he was on the wing with McDavid, could really succeed. He looks like one of those players that we tried throwing with McDavid back in 2018, except he'll actually succeed. He looks decent. I'm excited about it, and I think other people should be really excited about the Matvei Petrov pick as well. Then for our last 2 picks, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot on these guys. I struggled to find information about Shane LaChance, the 186th overall pick, and with our last pick in the draft, I could literally find nothing. I think I found one tweet that mentioned something about him. With the 186th overall pick, we selected Shane LaChance. He is a left winger who's left-handed out of the NCDC, which I don't even know, playing for the Boston Junior Bruins. 25 games, 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points. He is 6'4", 190. There you go. That's why Ken Holland took him. He was ranked 213th on McKean's board. Nobody else ranked him on the actual draft board. I think NHL Central Scouting had him 110th amongst North American skaters. Take that for what you will. He is the son of former NHLer Scott LaChance, so again, fun fact. And what I heard from him, what I saw on Twitter, you'll see the thread I have linked down below. Heavy hitter, inconsistent offensive production, needs to work on skating, but he puts in tons of effort. So you're getting some pros and cons there. This is a project. I don't think I don't see there being a chance of him making the NHL. We'll see what ends up happening with Shane LaChance, though. He might turn out to be something, but it's the 186th overall pick. I'm not that worried if it doesn't. And the final pick in the draft for the Oilers is Maximus Wanner, and immediately that name wins already. He is a right-handed defenseman. Those are something you want to get. Standing at 6'3", weighing 185 pounds, playing with the Moose Jaw Warriors in last year, 17 games, 0 goals, 4 assists for 4 points. Ranked by no one. So this is another off-the-board pick where it's either 1 or under. That's what I meant for that. That's what I set for off the board. If there's 1 or less promotion, like publications, putting you on their draft board, then you're a way off-the-board pick. And all I got out of him is that he's a somewhat athletic, shutdown defender. And that's it. That's it. Like, I literally do not have anything else to say. There's nothing else on him that I can find. Like, Maximus Wanner, everybody. So, what did I think of the Edmonton Oilers draft this year? Well, I noticed a couple themes. A, everyone we picked is over 6 foot. B, we picked a lot of utility-type forwards in the first half of the draft. Jake Chaisson is a utility-type guy. Xavier Bourgault is able to do a bit of everything at times, even though he is a bit one-dimensional. Not one-dimensional, but, like, mainly offensive. Petrov does throw a bit of the body checks. We went for a lot of guys. Like, we went with a Shane LaChance pick. We're really banking on a physical player here for the 4th line, like a grinder. All in all, though, this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and I know, oh my god, the king of negativity is actually starting to be positive about the Oilers. I think we had a decent draft, man. Maybe it's just that my expectations have been set so low. I liked our draft. I liked the Bourgault pick. I thought that it was a good pick. I liked the Chaisson pick. I thought that it was a solid selection. I liked the Matvei Petrov pick. It was a steal. If he did just fall because LOL, why not? If he's as good as advertised for a 6th round pick, that's a steal. Like, I don't mind Luca Munzenberger. Like, yes, I'm a little bit concerned about it being off the board, but I feel like a lot more people are reading in to that draft board projection than they should be. I think that there is a bit more to Luca Munzenberger than advertised, so I'm having faith in that pick. That pick, like I said, I've seen a lot of people giving this an automatic F. I understand if you do. I have a bit of faith in this selection. And then with the last 2 picks, I feel like the Oilers just did what they did last year with their last 2 picks. And it's like, well, we're probably not getting anything here. What were the names? I don't even remember the 2 guys' names, but like, Philip Engraz was one of them. And then there was this other guy as well that I don't even remember the name of. And they were just 2 random guys that weren't supposed to be drafted, and they were just there. So, if I were to give it a grade, I'd say that out of the 6 draft picks they've made, I'd have to give it a B. Bourgault's a really good pick for where he was selected. Chaisson's a solid selection. Petrov's a good sleeper pick. Munzenberg's okay. LaChance and Wanner are 6th and 7th round picks. It's whatever. And now I'm going to finish this off by talking about the thing a lot of people are mad about. The trade. The Minnesota Wild trade. Why did Ken Holland just trade away Jesper Wallstedt for Xavier Bourgault and then take the 3rd round pick and select it on a guy nobody's heard of? I said it last night in the stream. I said it on Twitter. And I'm going to say it again here. When you have a guy that's supposed to go in the top 5, and he falls, and does not go in the top 5. I guess he wasn't supposed to go in the top 5. There were rumors of him going top 5. If there's a guy that's supposed to go top 10 and he doesn't go top 10, there's a reason. Jesper Wallstedt falling as far as he did. The Red Wings feeling more confident in drafting Sebastian Cossa over Jesper Wallstedt. There is a reason that all of these things happened. There is an underlying reason why Jesper Wallstedt didn't go off the board. Okay, there just is. Look at some of the teams, 6 and after, that could have picked a goalie, alright? Detroit, they traded for a pick anyway, so I understand it. San Jose, I know they just traded for Adin Hill. I felt like they could have still went with Jesper Wallstedt. The Kings, they have Cal Peterson. Are you sure? Arizona, I mean, yes, you have Darcy Kemper, but he's out. You probably could have picked a goalie if you wanted to. Ottawa, you have Philip Gustafsson. You probably still could have went goalie, and people would have understood it. You have a team like Calgary, and sure, Jacob Markstrom's there, but he is not young. It's not like he's a young guy that's going to be there for a decade. He's up there in age. St. Louis, I know that they have Jordan Binnington, but we're already starting to see that maybe he's not the goalie they thought that they were signing to that 6x6 deal. There were a lot of teams that could have went with a goalie that said no, we're not going to go with a goalie. I think that there is a reason that this happened. I think there's a reason that he fell. Minnesota, credit to them for trading up and getting the steal. But I am not going to just destroy Ken Holland for this yet. If Bourgault and this defenseman in Munzenberger end up flopping hard and Wallstedt ends up being elite, sure, fair play. Right now, I do not think it's fair. Plus, I always do think it's a bit of a risk taking a goalie in the first round, and I understand we don't have a good goalie right now. Here's the thing, though. We don't need a goalie that's going to be good in 5 years. We need someone right now. Believe it or not, I know there's a lot of teams that won't believe it. This team is in win-now mode. We're trying to win a Stanley Cup right now. We're trying to go far in the playoffs right now. We kind of have to keep that Connor McDavid guy around. So I do understand going with a forward who might be ready in a few years rather than going with Wallstead, who might take a bit more time. And he might be ready early, but he also might take a bit more time, and I think that that's important to remember. Goalies don't always just jump right into the NHL. There we go. At clocking in at about 30 minutes, that is my reaction to the 2021 NHL entry draft from the Edmonton Oilers perspective. What did you think about the draft? Let me know down below. I thank you all for watching this video. Later this week, we have a lot more content coming out. I've been waiting to make the Zach Hyman is an Edmonton Oiler video for all week. I'm assuming now I'm not going to be able to do that until the 28th. That's fine. That's whatever. But expect videos throughout the week, because honestly, I'm recording this on the 24th. The video is going, you're going to see this on the 25th. And when I take a look at a calendar here, we have the 26th and the 27th, and I guarantee there's going to be some moves happening in between now and then. And we already have the Reinhart trade, and we already have the Voracek for Atkinson deal, and I'm going to save those and talk about them on an episode of the podcast on the 27th of July, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Then on the 28th, I don't think I'm going to go live for a long time, but don't be shocked if maybe at 12:30 I hop on for an hour or two, just talk about some of the signings, and then go on for my day, with my day from there. So, yeah, I would like to thank you all for watching this video. I will see you all on the next one. Goodbye for now.